last time, I think it would be good to give a high-level introduction of, you know, what alchemy is. I don't know if that makes sense to go into that before we do the live presentation. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
we
I,
can do
I
like
think,
super brief high level overview of it.
yeah.
Um, sure. Do you guys want me to do it, or do one of you want to jump in?
Can you do it?
Yeah, I can do it. Okay, so uh, for me, like Joseph and I have always talked about making a game together. We've done some other things like arbitrage trading and making some bots to I don't know, play games automatically or do other things in crypto automatically. And we're both strategy gamers, and we talked about like the gaming influences of our backgrounds. And so we played a lot of card games. We played a lot of like Final Fantasy Tactics. I played a game called Disgaea, and these are sort of like our influences growing up. So we were like, let's make a game that leans into strategy oriented gameplay and not so much like kind of flashy animations and quick reaction times and things like that. So that's how the idea of Alchemy was born. And we were also like, we're not Unity developers, so we wanted to build this in a way that we could move quickly and play into our strengths. So we created Alchemy as a Discord game that is kind of like a mixture between like Pokemon, Final Fantasy, and a fighting game, in that you're taking your turns at the same time as the other person and you're trying to read what they're doing. And you've got three characters and they have a set of skills. They have attacks and they have the ability to sort of interrupt what the opponent is doing. And so with all of these abilities and a kind of a medieval landscape, the game is centered around the concept of alchemy. Alex honestly will do a better job telling you about the story building aspect of the game. But from the strategic gameplay and kind of what we're trying to do here is we're trying to build like an MMO that's more of like a not an MMO in the traditional sense of running around slashing things, but an MMO, and that is a massively multiplayer online game. It's a strategy game. You can play it with multiple people, and you can play it directly through Discord without having to download, install, or have any sort of specifications outside of just being able to run Discord on your phone. So that's kind of like the high level overview, and I'm excited to kind of dig into some of the other things that we've built out for the game so far, and then talk about some of the future plans for the game. And maybe that's a good stopping point if either we want to move into showcasing the game, or Alex could talk about the kind of world building that's happening with Ali and Alex behind the scenes.
Sorry, of course, my computer's deciding to act up right in the middle of our introduction, but I at least can talk on my phone. So, yeah, I mean, I'm happy to jump into some of the world building if that's what we want to do. But I think I'll just give a high level overview, and then I'd like to see somebody kind of come through the game since it is playable. But essentially, Allie, Mason's wife, Allie, has been very deep into the occult and the teachings of alchemical philosophy by people like Hermes, and was really inspired to try to bring some of those stories into a gaming format to kind of like cover all of our interests in one. And little did I know that I would become obsessed with the same lore and philosophy, because ever since I have been diving into it, I've just wanted to read more. And so I have taken a lot of historical persons from these philosophies and from like the foundation of alchemy, which is now chemistry, but the early chemistry days in Egypt. And we've integrated characters into the storyline that are based on those real people, but sort of, like what if alchemy was actually very magical and not just the early misunderstandings of chemistry. And if we took that concept and just ran with it, how could we tell a story in sort of an ancient Egyptian setting, where we have like these different Middle Eastern countries, as well as like Greece, China, India, all coming together into one place and building a world off of this magic? And what if they actually had the Philosopher's Stone and could transmute anything into anything else? How powerful would that city be? So that's kind of where the story starts. We descend down to this city where they have a philosopher's stone. And we, as the player characters, we're these souls that are coming from another plane of existence. We're coming from the astral plane. And the gods have sort of recruited us to help balance out this chaos that's happening on the physical plane. So that's who you'll be embodying in this story is what we call a descendant. I think I can leave it at there if we want to maybe dive into some gameplay.
Yeah, I think that you've built it up now where it's like, okay, we're ready to see the game. So as far as choosing someone, is there someone who really would like to be the person to play the game while we all?
You're gonna get guided through it all and everything, and it's not gonna be super hard with people kind of behind you, so I wouldn't worry about like being good enough to play it or anything.
Okay, so Easy's volunteered. Anybody else that would be interested?
I'll also be playing alongside.
Of course, man. Of course, we are going to try it. Of course. Why are we here in the first place?
Yeah, I still think it'd be helpful, to pick one to follow the perspective of, just so we can, kind of like for people watching along also that don't want to play, just to kind of like have our voices behind you walking us through like our thought process with everything.
Yeah, that would be nice. Yeah.
Okay, so let's. First step would be that they need to join the Discord, right?
Yeah, there's a chat for this, right?
Yeah,
yeah. If you right click it and hit open chat, yep. Okay, we got it there, and I'll get an invite. Let me know if that doesn't work.
Go. Raid.
Okay, I'm back.
Yeah, so if somebody wants to, hit share screen in this Discord chat, and then share your Discord window, and then start playing the game, we can follow along with you.
Yeah. So who got
There we
us?
go,
Easy wins. Whoa, we got a lot of pictures there, Easy.
That's not a Discord window.
Is this your porn?
It's just NFTs. All right, there we go. Very nice. Cool. So looks like he jumped into Tutorial Island right away. So this is kind of when you first hit the Discord server, the first thing we want people to do is go through the tutorial, which is just kind of teaching you. Oh no, Joseph, interactions are failing.
Oh shit.
I'm not failing actually. I'm inside. I just started the first out of the one out of 3 battles. Yeah, the first one. So it says Alchemy guide. Let's go. Starting battle between AlexPage.sol and tutorial AI start. This is what you said actually right now. And then I can see. Can you actually see my screen, or you can see my screen? Right?
I think we're watching EC.
Yeah, we're watching Easy right now, but is it working?
Yeah, it seems to be working.
So I'm gonna just I'm trying to manage all the things happening, but I want to give you guys like an overview right here. So what's happening on EC's screen is he's fighting with a tutorial AI. So we do a couple of things with each turn of the battle. One is we give you a spoiler blocked out description in text of what happened over the course of the turn. So if you click that, like he just did right there, it reveals all the things that happened. And you can see like the good actions in blue and the bad actions in red, sort of like what's happening between you and your opponent. We also create a video of what happened during the turn and send that to the player. So all of the visual processing is happening on our end, which means somebody with like the most basic mobile phone of all time would be able to play this game without needing a graphics card of any sort, because we're processing everything on the back end and sending it to them. And then the third thing that you're getting each turn is the action menu, which is all the buttons and things that you can use for the turn. At the beginning of the game, we keep it really simple. During the tutorial, we're teaching you how to use skills first, and then we're showing you how to use fierce attacks. And so this kind of goes into like, the basics of how you're playing the game as you go along. Skills are sort of the most powerful thing that you can be doing on a given turn. Fierce attack is the thing that you can fall back on if your skill is on cooldown or you don't have enough charge to use the skill that you want. Fierce attacking, if you're both fierce attacking with your opponent, you're going to be gaining charge faster, so it does kind of like accelerate the pace of the game if people are just fierce attacking. leading into some of those more powerful skills that need more charge. And then there's a third thing that you learn as you get into this third tutorial battle. So we're slowly adding all of the different options to the gameplay as you go through the 3 tutorial battles. The first being just skills, then skills and fierce attacks. And then in the third one, you have this ability called Interrupt. And Interrupt is a way to counterplay around your opponent's most powerful abilities. When you think they're going to go for a strong ability, you can say, I want to interrupt the character that I think is going to use a skill this turn. And then if you successfully land the interrupt, it blocks their skill and it gives you a whole bunch of charge for landing your move well. And this is a lot of like the mind games of the game itself is figuring out what is my opponent trying to accomplish here and how can I best sort of interrupt that. And that's kind of the fighting game side of things, because in a fighting game, it's a lot of like trying to predict what your opponent's going to do. In a strategy game, it's thinking about, what is like the expected value of the move that I'm using. Like if my best move for this turn is to use this particular skill because of all the information in the battle, well, then I should use that skill every time, but there's that counterplay. Do I worry that my opponent's going to know that I'm going to do that thing because it's my best move? And you have to kind of decide to make suboptimal moves to play around what your opponent's doing. And that's kind of like a high level overview of the game. And then at a more granular level, there's all of these different skills in the game. So there's like a glass cannons team that's capable of doing really high DPS, but they're squishy. There's a team that like stacks poison on you. There's one that will light you on fire and then consume that fire for additional attack damage and speed. There's lots of like there's 20 different classes in the game, and there's a lot of different skills. So you can sort of build your team out how you want to. I'm gonna take a break from talking, and if somebody else, I don't know, Joseph, you want to jump in?
Yeah. So I like to think I think Mason mentioned that like we played all these games in the past, and we want to make something that's our own. And I think with the meter, if you look at the bottom of each of the videos, you can see like there's a little bar showing like how much charge you have. And the more charge you have, think of it like when in Street Fighter you have how many bars of EX you have, and like the more EX you have, the bigger thing that you can do. And so right now, Easy's got four bars, and he isn't using them. So there's a lot of right now he's still winning, but he could have been optimizing his play a little bit better. So right there he just got killed, but he died with a bunch of meter. But it's okay. I mean, it's like it's a little bit there's a bit of a learning process for the game. I think another comparison of the interrupt is kind of if you played Magic the Gathering Force of Will, where you kind of like, hey, no, you can't do that. Or if you play competitive Pokemon, Protect, which is kind of like trying to scout out what the other person is doing. There's a large like rock, paper, scissors element to it, where it's like, okay, fierce attack beats interrupt beats skill, and then skill beats fierce attack, because skills typically do more damage than fierce attacks. But because it's a 3 versus 3, you also can like kind of dodge interrupts where people are thinking like, hey, like I'm going to use this really strong attack, and then the other person is going to try to interrupt you, and so you use like Mason was saying, a suboptimal attack where you're still kind of cashing out, getting a little bit out of your meter or skills. Hey, it looks like Alex is winning.
Yes. Actually, I'm winning, man. Actually, I won. Yeah. I tried everything. I tried the swaps. I tried to swap and use cleave because there were two. Actually, if I use the cleave, if I was able to use the cleave skill, would I be able to hit both of the opponents on the third battle I had?
Yeah. So, if you
once
you use the skill, it shows what the skill does. And
okay, yeah. I'm just asking if it hits two enemies or one enemy.
Two enemies.
Two
yeah,
enemies.
it's a really strong skill.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is a thought process behind it. Like, okay, I will use cleave in order to hit two opponents on the next. Okay, cool. Then when I use fierce attack by in a new turn, like I have my two heroes, the enemy has two heroes, and then I begin with a fierce attack. It hits both or the first one who is in the front.
Just the first one. So
that's why the swaps. Yeah, okay, perfect. Very well thought, man. Very well thought. Nice.
A little bit more on the thought process is we want to keep pushing the
What's
battle.
going on with the echo?
Yeah. Let me see. Maybe if I.
Yeah, I'm also trying to understand. Like, do I control which screen we're watching? Like, do we get to choose which live stream we're watching? Because there's two
Yeah,
live
you
streams.
have to click between them.
Just click
And
them,
that's
yeah.
us individually as watchers.
Yes, you could be watching someone different than I'm watching. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that might have been me watching someone's. I think I was watching Easy stream, and then it echoed back on me. But yeah, a little bit more on the thought process on it is there's in each turn you have the skills, and then you also have an auto attack. And an auto attack is kind of like your basic attack. Like if you play League of Legends, like yeah, everyone has their auto attacks, but they also have their skills, and their skills typically are a lot more powerful than their auto attacks, unless you use a specific strategy, like you get a build where you're just auto attacking a lot. And what we want to do is we want to keep the games like quick and fast, because like nobody wants to sit on their phone and just constantly stare at the screen for like 30 minutes. And so the auto attacks serve as a purpose to kind of like push the action forward, where if both people auto attack, then we reward them with like, hey, start doing something, and then you give them more charge, and then you with more charge you can use stronger skills.
Yes.
There are some skills that are weaker, where it's like they don't take any charge, and there's some skills that are stronger that take 1 meter, 2 meters, and then there's some that are really, really strong that's pretty much game ending, which is 3 meters. But like you can kind of think of this kind of, if you played card games, kind of like a curve, where like typically you want to start using the old, like the no meter ones, and then once the battle progresses, there's more and more meter being stacked up, and you can use the stronger ones.
I think like it's interesting. I'm also watching the chat, and I know the background of some of the people, right? Like so like Hanko, he's played Magic the Gathering, right? So have I, so have Chris. Like you mentioned Force of Will, we know exactly what you're talking about. So this game speaks to us a little bit more. I also love those like text games back in the day, aging myself. Whereas you're seeing some of the comments from Easy, it's like too much text, and it's an interesting response. The different kind of perspectives on it.
We've seen this with people in the community as well. Like, we've invited people from Ali's community, and some of them are like, I don't really want to play a Discord game. It's too much text. It's too like Discord's a thing I chat with people, and I want my games to be super flashy and big bang. Other people are super into it, like kind of obsessed, like playing every day because they love this style of game. And they're like you're saying with the Magic player background. I mean, there's like a 600-page rule book, and the cards are like thick paragraphs of text that are kind of hard to understand. And so some people are just not going to have the patience to play a game like that, and that's totally understandable. I think one thing we don't want to try and do is satisfy everybody, because then I don't think we'll get a lot done.
True, true. And also, it plays an important role. Those games, the Discord games, play an important role and actually have an interest, I believe, for communities, because I saw and I witnessed a lot of communities actually doing various activities, and this kind of a game incorporated inside Discord and also showing the result both visually and data in an informative way, actually could be a really nice tool for communities and for projects to attract activity for users in the Discord and everything. Like make it a little bit more interesting than pure text, like plain communication. Like it's more, there are more things going on, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, so I mean, like on the one hand, in comparison to a Unity game, right, there's a lot less going on visually. But in comparison to the competition on the Discord game side, we have way more. We have the automated videos, we're sending the videos, we've got the blocks of the text that is hidden, so it's not like kind of in your face with all that text, and you can just watch the video, you don't have to read it. We've got the UI menu, everything is buttons, you're not like typing to play, you're just clicking those buttons. As far as like UX and UI, I think for a Discord game, it has the best of the competition. But yes, if you're trying to compare it to something like Fortnite, I think you're just not going to get the same experience in a Discord game.
And that said, I mean, we are here because we're looking for feedback. We're looking for ways to grow and improve the game. We're in this like pre-alpha stage of the combat right now because we want to see how intuitive it is for brand new players and where they get tripped up. So every time somebody joins the server and goes through the tutorial, we've been like watching their every move, which a lot of people, we don't typically interact with them unless they get stuck and like want to walk away. But it's given us a lot of insight into like which instructions people read, what percentage of people read the instructions, whether or not somebody understands the basic mechanics of the game and how it can sort of rephrase things. And so, I'm hearing things like there's too much text, I don't want to read all those instructions. I think that there are certain places where maybe we give people too much insight into the mechanic and we should just tell them what to do instead. And we've been building out a wiki that has all the details of the mechanics for people who do want to dive deeper into it. But getting people excited to play the game from the first time they join the server is kind of the first goal before we open this up to the public. So that's why it was useful for us to just kind of go through that experience with one of you. And if any of the other people here want to try going through it and giving us feedback, there's a feedback channel in there. We really are in this like research alpha phase right now. So like anything that you all have to give us is going to be super helpful in the onboarding process for people as we scale. And we definitely are of the like build fast and break things mindset with this game. Like Joseph's like one of the fastest developers that we've been able to work with. And I think that we oftentimes get things out there without like any polished UX. And so it would be nice to have that feedback so that we can really make sure that it's going to be good for scale.
So I wanted to share my screen and show you guys a few more of the things that we've already built in this, because like you saw the tutorial and you saw a little bit of fighting, but I think I can show off a little bit more. So once you get through Tutorial Island, you actually, every time you go anywhere, you're going to go into the Play Here menu, and you can register. You can link a wallet. We already have that set up. The playable characters in the game that you get can be minted as NFTs, and that's actually what we're doing for the hackathon. And Joseph got that done in like 3 days, which was pretty insane. So you can mint the characters, you can send them to other people's wallet addresses, and then you can import them into the game, and then you can play with them. Tournaments, we're running weekly tournaments. I wanted to show you in the tournaments channel, we actually wrote our own double elim logic for a tournament bracket. And so players will automatically get, so we can just say like open a tournament, we can fund it with a USDC prize pool. All the prize pools are automated and paid out on SoulScan, so we don't have to do anything. And then this whole thing is automated as well. So you can see over the course of the tournament, we're spitting out these brackets. We actually decided to mute these channels so that we wouldn't get text in between all the brackets. But here you can see like, my round versus Sneaky. And then after that round, we got this one, which was I beat Sneaky, and then my name turns green. And then you had these guys. And then Jin beat me. And at the final of the tournament, you get this kind of results screen of Dragon won the whole tournament. This was the winner's bracket. This was the loser's bracket. So fully functional double elim logic, all run through a Discord bot, all integrated with automated prize pool payout. And you can register just by clicking a button and play here. I think it's pretty cool that we have that going for us. One thing that like I know in the Hearthstone scene people complained about for years is that they didn't have an in-game tournament client. We have that before we've even launched the game. Within the play menu, I also wanted to show you the Endless Dungeon. So this is a mode that we built where you actually navigate around a map, and you can do this all through Discord. So you're kind of clicking around, and the goal is to not run into as many of the enemies as possible while still accomplishing your mission. So in this one, the mission is actually to kill the marked targets, and it says right here your objective. And so the marked targets are the ones with the green arrows above their head. So your goal would be to like not fight the other NPCs as you go through the dungeon, because the goal is to complete as many objectives as possible. And we have a leaderboard for this one as well. There's also chests around the map that you can pick up, that you can get health files and things. So the reason I wanted to show you this is because it's sort of the things that we're capable of producing go beyond just the gameplay itself, and they go into all the different ways that you can interact in Discord. And I don't have demonstrations for all of the things that we've built, but like a slider puzzle in order to access a certain menu. We tried to build like a version of this that's more like a puzzle where you just don't want to touch any of the NPCs. This is actually like if you run into one of them, it'll start a fight with them. And then, so you hit the encounter, now you're fighting the computer. I could try to go through this real quick if you want to see me play a game. So like things that I'm thinking about when I'm in a fight is like, okay, I want to get my miasma bomb, which poisons them over time, off really early in the fight. And then I like to use fireball after miasma bomb because it ignites the poison. Poison basically is anytime they would take damage, they take a little bit more damage. And fireball burns them over time. So it's sort of like the fireball deals damage with poison, the attack then deals damage with poison, and then at the end of the turn, they're burning, and then that also triggers the poison as well. So this is like, you know, a strat that you might see players using.
So a little bit more about 1 second. Let me stop watching stuff. Okay. So one thing about the dungeon mode is like we're in the tournament mode is we feel like we have like at least a good base for the gameplay. So we have like the rock paper scissors, we have a lot of player expression where they can make their own teams where they can mix and match. Like we have a bunch of preset teams that people can choose if you go to play here and then you do choose team, or you can just mix and match characters from there. And so there's a lot of I really like the idea of player expression through team creation and then during the battle, because there's a lot of thought process. When like I played competitive Pokemon Gen 3 for a little bit, and a lot of it was like trying to figure out like, hey, what do people expect, and what can I do to like take advantage of those expectations. So I really like creating my own team, even if I can't like play it well. I think that's a large part of like I really like player self-expression. And then during the battle, you also can there's player self-expression there too, because you have to kind of read what the person is doing. You have to try to execute your game plan while thinking like, is this person going to interrupt me? And if not, then I can keep going about what I want to do. And then so that's the base gameplay. And we want to expand on that gameplay. And then so what you saw was like the tournaments, like that's fully automated. Like not only is it like not only is there the tournament, but it's fully integrated where it reads the result. You don't have to go and like report it to the tournament organizer where it's kind of like slow and then people kind of the reports are flying everywhere. It starts the match for you, people sign in, and then that's fully automated. So in the future, we want to be able to constantly run these tournaments because they're fully automated, and that's just based off of the core gameplay. And then on the PvE side, we have the dungeons, and this is what Mason is showing, where we have like the core gameplay, and you go around the map and take advantage of the core gameplay. And in the future, we're actually making a story mode where Alex has taking advantage of Alex's lore, and we have you can not only run into enemies, but you can run into friends too, and those people will tell you a little bit more about the world. They join your team, stuff like that. And so we're trying to like take as much we create like a foundation and we build off of that foundation.
Yeah, I kind of want to jump into the what that roadmap looks like going past the foundation, but maybe that's a good pausing point if anybody has any questions or comments about what we've talked about so far in the core gameplay.
I also wanted to show off just the leaderboard real quick, but I need to abandon this. Okay, so just real quick, just to finish off like kind of the overview of the things that we have out right now. We have this leaderboard where these are endless dungeon finishes, and there's a score here. Joseph, I thought there's also Coliseum versus AI. This is the other leaderboard that we have. So there's two leaderboards right now. One is for that endless dungeon mode we showed you, and the other is if you just want to fight versus the AI in the Coliseum, which is just like those normal 3v3 battles, like you want to test out a certain lineup versus the AI. You can do that, and as you climb, you can fight harder and harder AI. It gets to the point where the AI kind of cheats a little bit to be better than you, but it can still be helpful.
Like Age of Empires, yeah.
Yeah. And then there's might have just it is alpha for a reason. There are some things pause it to stall, and we've done a good job of getting rid of a few of those, but I still think it might be a little bit. So sometimes just going back to play here and hitting play again gets the bot to kind of behave. Select team. I wanted to show you. So we implemented a bunch of teams that you can pick that we just sort of pre-built as a way to jumpstart the game, since we don't have character creation really online for the public yet. And you can also make a custom team out of the characters that we have. So there's this whole character selection menu here, and you can go through all the different characters that are on those preset teams and build your own. But then the main sort of idea for the game is that you'll be able to go in here and say, I want to create a new character, and you'll be able to spend the in-game currency that we're calling Spirit, which is generated by the gods of the game, and there's more lore behind all of that. But you'll summon a new character into the town of Chemia, and you'll go through this process of creating them. It won't be minted to the blockchain right away. There's going to be a separate process for that because we want the game to be accessible to people who don't have crypto wallets or might not feel comfortable with that yet. And once they have like enough assets within the game and they want to fully take control over their assets, then they can withdraw them to their own wallet. The game is kind of agnostic as to whether you hold the assets within the game itself or you hold the assets on your blockchain wallet.
Right.
And
They remain playable. You can level them up, change their state, and then every time like you would reclass them or relevel them, it would update the metadata on chain.
yeah, and again, we Joseph built that system over the last week and already seems to be working pretty well. So we're pretty happy with that. The last thing was kind of just I was going to show that process, but I think maybe we have it disabled right now.
Oh no, it's
Or I go to view characters and then I click the character I want to. Okay, so I have that mage that I just made. I can ascend the character, and it gives me this little Aiden is ascending menu, which is and then gathering energy. This is the bot actually going through the process of minting the NFT on chain right now. It takes a minute, but it's basically adding the asset to the candy machine and then minting it and then sending it to the wallet that I have linked to my account. And after it mints it, it should give me a soul scan. Oh, it sends it to me directly on Magic Eden. And
right now we're
do that, but
right now we cover the fees for players, but I don't know. We can talk about business model later.
I'll post into the chat that Magic Eden link. I wanted to though show what the NFT looks like is this right here, and these aren't meant as your PFPs. We have another NFT set that is meant as like the PFP of the game, and it's sort of like the more ownership class. It generates spirit. It's meant for staking and owning, and they will be playable in a small way within our plans for the more like open map multiplayer mode, where you can sort of like create teams using the gods, and then the characters are the things that are fighting each other, but the gods are like the set pieces that you use to take control over areas. And we're still working on how that game mode works, but we will have them playable in some way. For these characters, these are really like, we want these to be accessible sort of like cards in Magic, where it's not like, oh, I have my own unique one. It's like, this is the set of playable characters, and they're somewhat balanced in how they interact with each other. And there is an incentive to level them up and find rare weapons and things in the game so that you can class them in different ways. But that's why in the NFT itself, it's not just focused in on the face. It's focused on, it's a level 1 character. He has these abilities. If he had a secondary class, he'd have a third ability here. These are how he's spec'd him out, because as you level the characters up, you're picking those stats. And this image that you're seeing on chain, as you level your character up, we actually go into Shadow Drive and we update that image so it has the most accurate reflection of the character's level, the abilities that they have at the time, and the stat wheel right here.
Yeah, actually, that's all implemented if you want to go through that. If you want to like level them up into the seer, and then like once you change class, it should
Do
update
I have
it.
enough experience to level him up?
Yeah. Right now it's debug mode, so when you create a character, he comes with 1,000 experience.
Okay, so I hit view characters, and then I hit Aiden. It doesn't look like I can level him up.
Oh,
Is
okay,
that? Oh,
wait.
it's because I made Hajar right now, so
It's your last
I would
character.
need to ascend her and level her up. I don't know. Do you guys want us to demonstrate that right now, or do you want to jump into a different topic? Because like I'm happy to go through that process, but I figure we might want to just take a brief pause.
I'm loving everything. I mean, is anybody opposed to? Nah, man, keep going.
Okay, we'll ascend this character.
There is
Yeah.
then
One more
uh,
thing is like there's fully functional PvP if people want to play. If you guys want to like beat each other up, you can select your own team and then you go to PvP battles and then you do slash battle. And you can start fighting for fake internet points.
Or maybe we can implement Dean and you can wager.
Also, Joseph, it looked like the last Ascend aired. And this one is pausing for a suspiciously long time on 30% as well. So I don't know if you want to look at what the bot's doing.
You know,
So we
while
still have some kinks to work out for the hackathon development, but this is like our main focus for the hackathon is showing how the game can interact on chain and how we can, make the assets playable. I think one thing that we noticed with a lot of blockchain games is they have like two states. There's like your assets on chain and then there's your assets off chain. And a lot of the time, like if you have an asset on chain, you have to move it from your wallet to the game so that you can do something with it. And then you have to move it back so it can update its status. And we didn't like that workflow. We thought that was just like unintuitive and unnecessary. So we'd rather it be where like you can have it off chain or you can have it on chain and you can play with it either way and it updates either way. And so we're going to hopefully get that like really ironed out, integrate some like lore into the process where like when you're actually bringing your character to the blockchain, it's kind of like you're bringing their soul like back into the astral plane and then pulling it back down. And so we want to see if we can tell a story with that whole process too and just really focus on that one workflow.
Yeah, it's really important to us to support all players regardless of what their preferences are. So players who are like, I don't want to deal with blockchain, it's just like a nuisance to me, want to support that type of player. And people who are like, I need to own my assets, I need to know that they're in my own wallet and that I can trade them on any marketplace. We also want to support that. So, opting for optionality in how you own your assets was important to us. And once we get these little errors flushed out of the system, I think that we're going to be really happy with the way that it functions.
I think like I can tell you guys that like just by the DMs I'm getting and what I see in the chat, everybody's super excited. So there's gonna be a lot of feedback and a lot of playing. That's 100%. We also we were talking about we've got a group of people who are like hardcore gamers who unfortunately weren't able to join us today. But once now that you guys have shared the Discord link, is it cool if we keep that link active? Because we're pretty.
The invite
Yeah,
to our
I can-
server. Yeah, I think I made it a 7-day link, but if we want to get you a permanent one, that's totally fine.
Yeah,
I can
again,
send you a non-expiring link.
we'll be, you guys know we're hyper kind of gated in here. So we'll respect that, and obviously kill the link if anybody goes rogue and shares it somewhere they shouldn't.
I mean, at this point, we're like invite only, and like if somebody leaked it and we started getting a bunch of players in here, we wouldn't really be like unhappy. We're just like trying to avoid that so that we can polish it more before that happens. So
It's really
we
just
want the
like, if people are
onboarding
sharing it rogue,
percentage to be higher.
yeah, if people are sharing it rogue, but it wasn't like we were marketing it, then we can be like, oh, well, it's not supposed to be public. So if there's a big bug or something, it's like, okay, well, you guys are all in here and you're not supposed to be. But if we're like, hey, it's all open for testing, and then people come in, they're like, oh, it's all buggy. Why'd you open it for?
I
Why'd
see
you
the
open it to the public?
strategy. I
Yeah,
hear you loud and clear.
Can I play on stream?
You know what? At this point, go for it. Yeah, we've been trying to get more people playing in the weekly tournaments. We are putting a prize pool up. It's only $25, but every week we're having that tournament on Saturday. And if people want to play, or recruit more people to play, I think at this point we would love to have more people in there testing the game, and so we can like have more analytics and really dial in on balancing.
Yeah, I think the only thing is just to provide the context that this is like not even in the alpha stage of testing yet. We're testing like the core mechanics, and to also invite people who you have like vetted yourself, who you think would be people who could enjoy helping us test the game and giving feedback, rather than just like fully opening it up to anybody who's watching.
So in the same tradition we had for our other presentations, I think what's great, Mason, last time you gave kind of like, these are the three things that you guys could really help us with. You think it's a good time to kind of go through that?
I think that could be solid. I want to, I mean, just to put you on the spot, Joseph, but I wanted to pass that to you. If you had a list of things that you felt like we could need the most help with, but if you want to pass it back to me, feel free to do so.
I can go over that. I think I was thinking about this last night, and then like I was thinking about our strengths and our weaknesses, and I like to think that a lot of our weaknesses also can like be leveraged into strengths, but at the moment, I think the biggest thing is like our art direction is a little bit all over the place. I really like how our PFP collection is shaping up. But our in-game characters, you can kind of see there's a discrepancy between what they look like. And I have a vision for like how I want it to look, but I think an artist would actually be a much better, someone who's actually trained in like and has art experience would be a lot better at doing that stuff. I'm not sure what that looks like, but I think just putting it out there that's one of our biggest weaknesses. Um,
My previous
We actually
question
didn't
was
talk about our
okay. Sorry
uh,
for interrupting. My previous question was that you referred about the NFT and that it's going to be used for farming and staking. I wanted to ask if this includes, like, if you put it as Twitter profile, it's going to work as staking. That's what I wanted to ask. I just remembered. Yeah, like from what
like
the NFT.
gating the staking by making it your Twitter profile.
Yes,
Or
something like
giving
that. This
boost
is
to
what
that.
this is the hint I received while you were saying it quickly. But that's why I wanted to ask you. Yeah,
Actually,
if
I
this
hadn't thought of that, but it's a really cool
it's a
idea.
really
I
cool
have
idea,
to
yeah,
look
because
into like
since you have both, you can have someone stake his PFP in order to gain in-game points to redeem it in in-game points. Yeah, this would be a really nice touch
yeah,
for a game in Discord. Yeah. Anyway,
definitely
there's a
super
way
cool.
we could do that direct in Discord, because Joseph actually wrote a kind of cool staking thing,
okay.
for staking directly in Discord in a non-custodial way. But we were gonna try and use like an on-chain solution because I thought the crypto people would prefer it being on-chain rather than a Discord staking thing. But
True. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
I guess there's a trade-off there. We could certainly noodle on that idea more. It's a cool concept.
Yeah.
Before I want to give it right back to Joseph, but the one
Yeah.
thing I
Anyway. Yeah.
wanted to mention on the art side is that um, we're really trying to approach this in like how can we be as efficient with our time and our resources as possible. So like we bootstrapped the entire project ourselves, basically just kind of like working for free. And um, the one thing that we've been paying for thus far is for art. And when AI art tools started coming out, we thought they were really cool. And so we've been leveraging AI art tools as much as possible. And it also kind of led us down this path of like, how else can we leverage AI within the game? So some of the ideas that we have, I mean, one, we have like procedurally generated maps from the Endless Dungeon, and we can do more of those. We have the PFP set that we're creating is created using AI. And a lot of people see AI art as lazy, but we are doing it in a way that's like very high effort. It's manually generating them over and over again until we're happy with one, and then we add it to the collection, and then we manually go in and add the metadata for each one. So there's like over 120 different pieces of metadata that Alex has been painstakingly going through and hand adding to each one. Over the last 2 months, we've probably gotten like 1,800 of these done. So hopefully, like we can finish. Like we're getting faster at it too. But by the time that we get to 5,000, we'll have like full custom AI art, all sort of cohesive in style. Alex gives me a hard time sometimes because some of them look more painted and some of them look more hyper realistic. But for the overall concept, like they look, I don't know, unified in sort of their feel. And there's it's taken a lot of work to get the prompt the way that we want it, but I'm really happy with the results. And maybe we can even share some of them in here. There's the art in the game, and then there's the PFP art, and it's very different. And then the art in the game, we have the characters which are done by actual artists, some of the isometric icons that are done by artists, but then we also have like background images that are done by AI. And so you'll see like the Colosseum, for instance, is an AI image, and then the characters are standing within the Colosseum that are done by the artists. And so There's a little bit of juxtaposition there, and I actually kind of like it because it makes the characters kind of pop a bit. But then we're also toying around with making the characters with the AI as well, except the issue we're running into is we do want to add some minor animations to the game. Like, I don't know if you noticed in the combat, the characters just kind of move forward an inch when they attack. We'd like to actually give them an attack animation. And we need an artist that can take a character and put it into the different positions that it needs to be in order to really get those animations correct. The problem with AI art is it's not that granular. It doesn't behave the way you want it to. And so if you're like, hey, just take this exact image but move the arm forward, it's like, here's an entirely new image. And that doesn't really work. So, trying to expand the volume of art that we can create using AI tools, but also using an artist so that we can make the really specific tweaks that we need to that art is where we need to kind of end up going. And I think that was the thing Joseph's alluding to, is we could really use an artist that's like one of us that we vibe with as a team member and kind of gets the vision that we're going for and is capable of making these edits so that we can move the art forward at a faster pace.
The other
And
thing
then-
I'll add there, just to
Yeah.
like layer on with the art, is that we wanted there to sort of enhance the immersiveness of the world. We wanted to have cutscenes throughout all of the storyline quests. And I have a filmmaking background. That was like most of my education and my career. And so what I have been practicing using real imagery plus a lot of the prompts that we've like painstakingly ironed out over time to get like consistent terms and stuff with in the right order and with the right engines and all that stuff, to create the exact scenes that I would want to use as building blocks to create these animations. And so the idea here being that like we use the background image and then we also generate a character in a certain pose with a certain emotion, and then we also generate foreground elements, and I go in video editor and I layer those things in with motion to add parallax so that you get more three-dimensional feel of these like two-dimensional AI generated images. And then we come up with these like scenes, scene by scene, cut scenes that actually have real animations to them that are entirely AI art. So that's kind of the vision for how we can bring the story to life. And then I think something else that Mason was getting to is that like the other place that we're going to integrate AI is when you're walking around the town talking to the friendly NPCs. There are certain NPCs in certain scenarios where you can free type to them. So it makes it feel a little bit more like a tabletop role-playing game, where instead of just having like two options that you can choose between for a dialogue tree, you can engage in open dialogue with a character. And we are writing backstories that are pretty detailed for the AI prompts for each NPC, so that you can ask them literally anything and engage in like a conversation for as long as you want with them. And hopefully they'll react in character because they have enough of a background prompt to use that AI engine. So really that the whole goal is like, how can we use this trending AI technology to turn our game into something that feels more like a true role-playing game.
I think it'll be really immersive if you have ChatGPT as like the back end and you feed it a character profile and then you're interacting with that character profile and ChatGPT actually goes and comes up with things to say based on that character profile. And it feels also tabletop in a way because like there are times where if you're hanging with your friends playing D&D, you're breaking character a little bit. Like, oh, what TV show do you watch? Even though there's no TV in the world that you're in, you could still ask a character that and maybe they respond with a TV show that's like makes sense based on the type of character that they are, even though there's no TV in that world. I could see ChatGPT coming up with these same kind of responses. And we even had like a little bit of fun with this in testing where we're like, there's this guy named Omari who's like on a soapbox who hates descendants because he thinks they're like becoming devils or whatever. And he's in the middle of town and you're a descendant and you walk up to him and you're like, hey man, why do you hate descendants so much? And he's like, oh, they're the next coming of evil. And you're like, what's your favorite like manuscript to preach from? And he's like the one like the manuscript where descendants are coming down and blah blah blah's happening and like they're ruining the town and everything. And it's like we didn't write any of this dialogue, but we just gave it this character profile background, and I can go up and just ask it a bunch of random questions. And sometimes he's like, I don't watch TV. I only preach about how much I hate descendants, like because he's just that much in character. And it's really funny and immersive, like, and I could see like shopkeepers in the game having like their own personalities and always trying to get you to buy this one item over all the other items in the shop because we give them that preference. And this is like stuff you can really only do right now with like a text-based game, because AI is not good enough to really. I'm sure at some point you'll get a Skyrim sort of game that's got this same kind of background, but we also think there are tools that will take text to speech and do that with like real voices. And so maybe we can be one of the leading edge kind of companies or games that are pushing forward this narrative of like you're living in a world with all of these real NPCs, and they all each have their own voices that are AI generated, and they can speak back to you and you can type with them. And I don't know, I could see it being really fun with all like real players being in the game and NPCs being ChatGPT in the game.
One of the things that's super refreshing about what you guys are doing and your thought process is like you guys are completely on the other like side of the spectrum of like gaming in Web3. Like everybody else is trying to like it feels like they're cutting corners, where you guys are doing much more, right? Where it's like, look, the Web3 component about ownership, it stops there, but the game doesn't stop there. It's like, let's also see what we can do with ChatGPT and the AI. So really, I think it's going to be very exciting and a big change in dynamic, at least in the NFT gaming space on Solana, because I haven't seen anything remotely close to this. This depth, this immersion, which really lends itself to community building as well, right? You can have the group that is part of the Descendants or these other like concepts that you were bringing up before. For the art, I've already introduced you also to Kaiju. Dr. PP, man, those guys are very slick on their art direction. Like they excel on the art side, so much so that you should definitely bring it up when you guys talk.
What do you know, Joseph? So Joseph and I live pretty far apart. He's in NorCal, I'm in SoCal, but for a year there, he was living in Rancho Cucamonga, which is like 2 hours away from LA. So we would meet up for lunch in Pasadena, and I'm walking around in my hoodie, my Mutant Ape hoodie, and this guy stops me and he's like, "Hey, that's an NFT project, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So we start talking about NFTs. Is Dr. PP from Kaiju Cards, and we just ended up talking about NFTs for like half an hour, swap contact on Twitter, and then continued about our day. And now we're getting reintroduced to them through Dean, and might work with them on art. And it's just funny to me how small the world can be.
Yeah, certain things are just meant to happen, right? And that, if that connection didn't seal the deal, another one will come along and make it happen. We definitely are going to have a lot of feedback. Like, compared to some of the other projects, I feel like we can really get deep into it and we're going to have a lot of fun. I think whatever happens, we're going to share it also with the other gaming people that we know. If there's other ideas, like I've written it down, community wide, anybody else that knows somebody on the art design side, I know Hanko knows a lot of these people too. What else? I mean, I just want to make sure that
He's very connected on the art side of things, and he has some people that
hurts,
have
yeah.
great portfolio that could actually be good use. So yeah,
Like
I know where to
Squid
direct.
Guy could be, if you guys wanted to go maybe like pixel art, he had gone really deep. Is that his name? Squid Guy, Squid Dude, Dude's sake, for Dude's sake. He had.
Yeah, he was making a game. He had a gaming team for some
Yeah, the
time.
pixel art one.
Well, I never like to just shut down
Yeah, I
ideas
think-
right away, so we could talk it over. But we are somewhat committed in art style as we're going right now. that I feel like that would be a major pivot at this stage. But we could talk it over and see. We're always happy to like consider something and see how it feels.
We'll just introduce you guys, and if the vibes happen, But
I wanted to pass it back to Joseph though, because I feel like I just tangent on the AI thing because like I realized we completely forgot to talk about that, but I think he had a couple more asks.
Oh, I guess the other asks I have aren't super like tangible, but stuff like what Alex just mentioned, like, hey, what if you had like kind of staking it as your Twitter profile picture, and kind of combining that with what you, Dean, just said, where it's like, this is how I view this is kind of like the intersection between like indie gaming and Web3, and I know right now it feels like it's leaning a lot more on the gaming side, and then there's just some elements of Web3. But I think the future of this is actually like very, very integrated in both. One of the things that we were talking about is kind of like land ownership, where you can kind of like customize like, oh, this is you can fight over different types of land, and depending on like how you spend your resources, you can have like the NPCs upgraded. You can have like places where people can fight inside. People can go in and try to get through your dungeon, but if they don't, then they pay you a fee or something. And if they do, they kind of take away from your treasury. There's a lot of different things that we can do with that. But what I'm trying to get at is there's a lot of different crypto systems out there right now. I know if any of you have dabbled in MEV on Ethereum, there was Knife Game that was going, and also Spy Game. Those are, I think, pretty cool concepts, and I want to integrate them with not only just like, okay, this person attacks this person, it's this person plays against this person, does this thing off chain, and then we as the central entity will report the results, and then have this kind of ecosystem where people are coming in and trying to beat each other, or like, and making off with the profits.
Yeah, so I think I can take a stab at like summarize, like distilling down everything that Joseph and Mason are saying to like the three asks that we have here. One we already covered, which is like we want you all to play this version of the game and give us feedback if you're interested in playing. Like we really want gameplay and user experience feedback to figure out how we can get the best onboarding process and get people excited about playing the game who like this style of old school RPG. The second thing is that we really need help with the art side of things. We just have tried working with an art team. We've tried working with individual artists. There's a variety of reasons why we run into problems with some of that stuff. It doesn't really meld with our timeline, or doesn't meld with our ethos. And so just being introduced to more artists and figuring out somebody who can like see our vision with us and like work with the AI and their own art style to create something that's like really automated and yet still very consistent and immersive in the style we want. Like that's the goal. We just have yet to find that person. So finding those people will be really helpful. And then the third thing is all of these ideas that Joseph is talking about. I think relate to growth and marketing. So Mason is like master of tokenomics. I think like I feel pretty confident in our business model and the flow of tokens through the game. I think that Joseph is doing a great job with the development of the game and moves really fast with things that we know we want to build. Like if we see the vision for it, we just like hand it off and figures out a way to do it. So I think we're pretty set there. I am good at the storytelling parts, but I'm not super good at the growth elements. We have some ideas for how we could do some cross community growth, but like anything else that you all know is trending in the space for how people are getting genuine users into an organization like this. I mean, Dean's List is a great example of a place where like it doesn't have tens of thousands of people in the Discord, but it has like a core community that's really active and wants to be here. And I think when we're building that base for Alchemy, we need the people who are excited to see the game, who want to play the game, who want to give us feedback and want to build it collectively. And if we can build that community as a base before we really start scaling, I think that we'll have a much higher success rate when we scale. So having help with growth, like intentional growth, and getting access to other communities who might have really helpful people in them, I think would be the third greatest way that you could be helpful. And
And
that
to
was a very
expand
like
on that,
long
just
spoken distillation, but
it was solid. It was solid. I wanted to just expand on that third point a tiny bit, which is one of the growth strategies that we do want to start implementing is we have the ability to, token gate a tournament for a particular NFT group. So if there was like a community that wanted to add a little bit of utility to their project with a playable tournament and game, we can set them up with that. So, our ask would be like they bring us a minimum number of players, let's just say 16 players, and we would put up a prize pool for this tournament. Only the people who hold their NFTs would be allowed to compete in this tournament. So it would be all brand new players against all brand new players. They wouldn't feel intimidated like, oh, I'm just going to join the server. I'm going to get beat up by a bunch of dudes who are really good at this game. No, it's going to be like, let's just say it's just the Kaiju card community. None of them have played the game before. We would put up $100 prize pool, or maybe we'd even buy some of their NFTs and put that up as the prize. And then people could come in if they held one of the Kaiju card NFTs, they would get a specific role, then they could enter the tournament. And then we would set the time for it to pop off, and it would just be like a real quick double elim, takes maybe like an hour or two, depending on the number of players. And then someone would win some NFTs, and maybe a few of those people would be like, hey, I had a really fun time. I won the tournament, or I got third place, and I feel like I could have won if I had done this one thing differently. And that gets them like, oh, I want to, play in the next tournament that these guys are hosting in this server. Our goal is to really use tournaments for me is like a reason I play games. Like I would always love jumping into tournaments in all the things that I play. So for me, like that competitive aspect and finding other people who are testing out strategies is really fun. I want to show people that we're currently doing that in our community. We have like a player base of people who really do love playing the game and testing out different strats. And I'd like to just give that experience to more NFT communities so they can come see if they like that within the context of our game. So yeah, if you know of gaming communities that kind of fit the vibe of our game and are interested in getting some free money for their community, some utility for their community, maybe a floor sweep for their community, would love to get in touch with them. We just want to get some more people testing and playing our game.
I think that one is a great campaign strategy, like 100%. I would be hard pressed to think of communities that would not jump at that opportunity. So much so that I want to make sure that we are very selective of who we tell this to. Like I know Alex is already thinking of some groups. I'm already thinking of a few. Hanko for sure is yeah, I think it's a winning strategy. And like now, we want to think about, okay, who we're gonna, help out and be strategic about it, because for sure people want to play.
One important thing is that those games, what I understood and what I received as the energy of the game is that it focuses a lot on the old RPG, like Alex said, of course, but so it focuses on D&D players, on this is the target group, let's say, of the gamers, like gamers that like to also have something in their fantasy, not like everything straight away, and they used in this kind of game. So I believe this is the target group. I'm just talking in general now. The target group is people that like the D&D style. They like this kind of style of and you actually incorporated it in the game. This is why I asked about the thought process, the cleave, about the first attack that when you're using it's like the Street Fighter that you mentioned previously, that you get more bars and then you get to spend them. This is perfect because it's structured visually in a way like this D&D thing. So it's very nice. Yeah, very good.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there, because if we look at the backgrounds of the gamers who are playing Alchemy right now, who are active players coming to every tournament, practicing during the week, they're either coming from like strategy card games or from role-playing games, or from tabletop games, because like there's one person I invited who I play a tabletop game with every week, and he's like not a Web3 guy at all, like doesn't hold any crypto, doesn't understand the space, but he's super into the game and has been coming to every tournament. So I think that those are interesting to look into, especially maybe like once we get more up toward the narrative side of what we're building with Alchemy. I think the people who are into tabletop games are going to like really like that format. So yeah, that's probably a good exercise for us to do, is to like take a step back, think about the types of games and groups that would make sense to like order in priority for our growth right now.
Hey guys, sorry for the Oprah music. So I had some like thoughts. I just hopped into your server. I'll just test out the demo as well. But like talking on the growth side, one opportunity that I see for you guys that is generally underutilized is the use of on-chain data to identify existing players who are interacting with the games already in the ecosystem. I'm not sure how you'll go about that exactly, identifying the wallets, but maybe if you could, check out different people interacting with the smart contracts or something like that, and then target campaigns to bring those people on board as, excuse me, early contributors to your game, for example. Generally, that is something I think people don't utilize very well in the space. Could get you some power use early on, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's great feedback.
Do you think that there's a way that is this something that should reward people just based on figuring out which active players have which wallets, or do you think there are other important data to capture on those players, such as like their Twitter or Discord account or something like that? Because obviously we'll have their Discord information. Joseph gives all of the new players a wallet that, right when they join the game, they have a wallet if they haven't connected their own, so that if they do receive any assets, they can access them through there. Once they have linked their wallet, then do we have that information linked to their Discord account,
I
Joseph?
think that's
Is that
that's an
something where
interesting question, and in my opinion, that's kind of linked to what your North Star is, right? Essentially, what is that one key metric that you have for yourself that you think is important, and a conversion on that particular metric is going to make or break your game. If your game is on chain, then in my opinion, the metric that should matter the most to you is how many wallets actually interact with your game or connect to your platform. You could
We
like
do
design.
make every player a wallet when they join, regardless of, like, it's sort of like a shared wallet that we have the private key to, that we allow them to take the private key to. It's not where we would send their minted NFTs. We would send that to their linked wallet, which would be a different one, but we're sort of making them an in-game wallet. So maybe, I mean, this is to say that it is kind of partially on chain, but it's also partially off chain, and that I don't know if that wallet gets hit all that often. Like, I don't, if we made them a character, I think that would just be in our database. It wouldn't be in that wallet. And if they minted it, then it would go to their linked wallet.
Yeah, but like see, they're like different personas that you are targeting, right? One is the persona of an existing Web3 user who is already playing these games, perhaps interacting with on-chain games already, and there's a set of audience that doesn't interact with Web3 platforms all that much, or is not a crypto believer at this point. Those two are completely different audiences, and you might have to target and design different onboarding experience for these two sets of people. What I suggested with
Were you here when I touched on that earlier, or did
I,
you not
I
hear
kind of joined late, so
Okay. Yeah. So I hear what you're saying, and yeah, it was something I talked about earlier was that I wanted it to be as accessible to both types of people. So we have a system in place where if you're a new user, all your assets are stored within our game database, and then there's the ability for you to take those assets and mint them on chain. And the game is agnostic to whether you're importing assets on chain or you're just playing with the assets that are in your account. And that way, a player who doesn't want to deal with blockchain can just play the game and not have to deal with anything. But then if they ever want to interact with the economy, selling their characters or buying new characters, they're going to have to go do that on chain and then import those characters.
Yeah, so then regarding your point, Butter, about like what is that key metric that we can focus on and how can we make sure that we track it and reward those people? I think there's really two key metrics because we're straddling the centralized and decentralized interactions. I think a lot of the most active players probably will have their assets on chain, but what we need to be tracking, I think, is both the active engagement of the Discord accounts as well as the active transactions of the wallets. And those may be linked. Those may be like in slightly, I think it's a Venn diagram, right, of like overlapping pools there, but both lead us to the engagements that we need to increase the value of the game economy overall. So I think if we could look at the activity and ratios of both of those metrics, that would probably be our key metrics.
Right. So like I was talking more on a more from the growth perspective, and that's just one potential like growth hack that you guys have at your disposal, right? The on-chain data bit. There are many different ways. For example, you could like partner with different projects and offer whitelists through your game as rewards. For example, a
Hey,
new
brother,
project.
which NFT game do you think most resembles because I think you're bringing up something that's probably more in our wheelhouse on figuring out who to target and suggest. Like your idea is an epic idea, and like it sparks all these thoughts of like product, service, and whatnot. Because at this point, the idea is a little outside of the norm. It's very Web3. Who, like, I automatically am again thinking kaiju cards. Like that is a game that's deeply aligned as far as like the kind of gamers, and we know exactly. Okay, go check there. Look at who uses kaiju cards the most on chain, and we can send a Foxy message directly to their wallet with the Discord link. Like we can do that stuff.
Yeah.
Is there another game you have in mind?
Not on Solana. I mean, I know the Magic ecosystem on Arbitrum is like very rich in terms of community, and there are a lot of people building and looking to launch their games on the Magic DAO ecosystem. But on Solana in particular, nothing that crosses my mind, to be honest.
Yeah, actually, now that I said it, even Remnants. I'm gonna write it down.
Yeah, Remnants is a good example.
Remnants is a good.
Since I never had the NFT, so like I don't have the top of mind for that.
Dude, I have the NFT, and like all these NFTs, I don't have fucking time to do anything. Like I have one remnant, and you're supposed to go and move it around, and your remnant gets new items, and then you swap them and sell them. But
Barndog is really good with that. Barndog could give these guys some really kick-ass feedback.
yes, and Taki's on top of that. Taki, if there's one thing he's going to be doing, he's going to make sure that Barn Dog is here next time. As far as I think we covered a lot. I don't want to go too long because everybody's got a lot, and we've got a lot of feedback to do. I think the deliverables are great. We can definitely help on massive amounts of feedback. The art direction, we're going to continue to reach out, and I think that also dovetails, like it goes hand in hand with finding other players who would be very good, and we'll start first on the communities who most resemble where you are, and then we'll ramp up towards the Monkey DAO, DJ Ape guys who have a bigger, the Utes who have a bigger reach and a bigger audience. I think we're at a good point to like kind of wind down. Does anybody have some like parting remarks before we head off?
I think I'll just play the demo first and experience the thing firsthand, and probably like drop in more feedback in the server.
And I just realized we have Mackie, the music bot. We never used it, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, Jason was walking everybody through in it, and I figured like I don't want to just start blasting music.
We already had these like echo things. But we'll learn it.
Yeah,
we'll learn. We'll figure this one out.
Yeah, we added the music bot because when we do tournaments, we always like throw a bot DJ into the voice chat, and it's fun because right now with it mostly being a text-based game, you can't have consistent music being played through your experience unless you play it somewhere. So yeah, so we put like some fantasy battle music, gets everybody in the zone.
Right. It honestly makes it even more immersive. It's a lot of fun, and we're all hanging out in the voice chat, laughing about what's going on in the fights. So you've got like the battle music and us hanging out, and the tournaments going on, and it's a good time on Saturdays, the tournaments we run. So I'd like to. I really feel like that's kind of the best thing to showcase.
Can we do one with you guys? Like when would be like, could we fit into the Saturday one, or would it be a different day? Because
We could
I
do
think-
both. We can do as many tournaments as you want. They're
Mhm.
really easy to set up. You know, it's just you just run the /command. But anyone is welcome to join us on the normal Saturday tournaments. Like I want those to be as big as possible. I feel like more people the better. So
All right.
for
so we'll be
sure.
there for the Saturday
mean-
one, but we're gonna want a dedicated one just so I could, we can mess around
Yeah.
with the guys here.
So why
Um,
don't you do like a poll and figure out what time and day this week is going to be like the best time to do like a noob tournament for the Dean's List crew, and then we can just have everybody come in from that specific group do that tournament. What we can do is we can probably gate it by role or something like that. Yeah.
Wales,
Okay.
maybe we can.
We'll
stream-
make sure it's
we can
just
stream.
you all. Yeah, that would be fun. But yeah, we should do that. It'd be fun. It would be a fun way to get everybody to try the competitive elements of it, and we could put some Dean tokens on the line and stuff like that.
Yes, love it. Okay, we'll make it happen, gentlemen. Always like this, mind blowing. Like it's funny when we were first talking about Alchemy. I'm like, I don't know, no deal. The tokens. Like, man, you guys have a winner here. Like seriously, and Connix, props, man. Like you've really, built a masterpiece with these two rock stars too. Yeah, amazing job. Super excited to have you guys as part of our accelerator. Yeah, we'll
Thank you for having us. I mean, we're super excited. Like, just working the three of us all the time in kind of our little silo for like 6 months, and getting to the point where now we get feedback from guys like you, and the fact that you are excited about it and that you want to help us grow it and connect us up with the ecosystem is like very encouraging. And I think we're all really excited to sort of move into this next phase of collaborating more with the ecosystem as a whole.
couldn't have said it better, Mason. Like that's means so much to me, and I'm sure a lot of us. I mean, you see Nako, let's go. Awesome. So we'll end it here. Thank you again, and we'll probably be playing, this week.
Yeah, we'll love to see any of you guys in the server. And yeah, we'll figure out those tournament times. Super excited. Let's do it.
Bam, bam. Take care, guys. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.